Well, let's see. Sounds like it's recording. All right, I'm going to mute everybody. She suggested that I mute everybody and then spotlight myself. All right, let's record a demo, guys. So we are going to learn how to make a flip card just like this one. Obviously, you can use any pattern papers that you like, but this one is so cute. Using the new Simply Stated Baby line coming out this week. And so what you need to start is a sheet of white paper or whatever color you would want the base of your card to be. This is for the base of the card. So you would want it to be like a cardstock weight paper for sure. And you want it to be 6 inches by 7.5 inches. And then you will need 4 sheets of pattern paper as well. 2 of them will ignore the fact that there's a cutout there. You want them to just be rectangles at first, and you want them to be 5 3/4 inches tall by 2 3/4 inches wide. So 2 rectangles, 5 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And then you want 2 rectangles that are 2.7 inches by 4.25 inches. So 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. Once you have prepped those, we will do all the little detail elements that turn this from flat paper into this fun little interactive card. So the first thing we'll do, we'll start with the simpler one. We're going to take these 2 rectangles. I have mine that they, line up. So I'm going to be aware of that when I choose which side I'm cutting my little circle or like indent out of. But if your pattern is, it doesn't matter, then it doesn't really, you don't have to worry about which side you cut it out of because it'll be the same either direction. So what you want to do is you want to measure from the top point down 1 1/4 inches. And you can draw a little dot there. And then from there, you're going to measure in 1 1/2 inches. And you'll just sort of cut that line at 1 1/4 inches down. You're going to cut a 1 1/2 inch line in. And then you'll do the same thing down here. You'll measure up 1 1/4 inches and then cut a 1 1/2 inch line straight out. And then you'll just cut a line connecting those two to cut that out. And you can go ahead and do that on both pieces. Again, keeping in mind that if it is a pattern that can connect like this, you'll want to be aware of which side of the rectangle you cut your inserts out of.
What were those again, Chantel?
So these were 5 3/4 by 2 3/4 inch rectangles. So 5 3/4 of an inch tall by 2 3/4 of an inch wide.
Right.
And then you're going to measure down 1 1/4 inches. And then cut a straight line all the way 1 1/2 inches in. So 1 1/4 inch down, and then you're going to cut a line 1 1/2 inches deep.
Okay.
Same thing from the bottom. You'll measure up 1 1/4 inches and then cut a line in 1 1/2 inches. And then just connect those 2 lines so that it just comes out. Once you've done that, you are going to want to take your white sheet of paper. And I am recording this so you can come back if you're not quite finished this. You can either set it aside and come back to it, or just don't panic and you can watch the replay of this measurement after. So I have taken my 6 inch by 7.5 inch sheet of white paper. And what we have to do, what we're trying to accomplish, is we're trying to cut like 2 little, almost the same kind of concept as this out, but they have to stay attached this time. So we're using 1 1/2 inch measurements, and we're going to measure down 1 1/2 inches and in 1.5 inches and sort of draw a little dot there. And do the same thing over here. 1.5 inches down, 1.5 inches in, draw a little dot. And then whether you have, you know, a trimmer that you can rest this piece of paper into, or if you have like a X-Acto knife and a ruler, however you can cut paper without, you know, cutting all the way through, you'd have to be able to lift it and set it where you want and cut, because we don't want the cut to come from the edge. It's got to start in this, in the center there. And we're going to just cut a line from that dot down to that dot. And then you can flip it this way. And from those points, you're just going to cut 1.5 inches down on either side as well. So all those measurements were 1.5 inches. You're measuring 1.5 inches in, 1.5 inches in, 1.5, 1.5. You're going to connect those two dots with a line, like cutting a line, and then you're going to just straight, like parallel to this, cut another line down another 1.5 inches. Then you will flip it and do the exact same thing on this side. All the measurements are 1.5, so it's super easy to remember. You just measure in 1.5, measure down 1.5, draw a dot. Measure in 1.5, measure down 1.5, draw a dot. Either with a trimmer or an X-Acto knife and ruler, cut a line connecting those two, and then cut a line down 1.5 inches from either side. This next step is pretty easy. I'll say it, but again, I'll come back to all these steps, so don't feel rushed or panicked if you're not at this stage that I'm at. I'm talking pretty quickly, but I'll repeat myself and I'll help you out, so don't worry. At this point, so we've measured in 1.5 inches and then cut 1.5 inches, so we're now 3 inches in. You're going to draw a score line, but not through this, like you want to keep this portion solid, like pretend that there's a line connecting that cut line that is an invisible line that keeps going there to that cut line. You don't want your score line to be in this space, so you're just going to draw a score line at that 3 inches in from either side, just down to your cut lines on both sides. So you'll flip it and it's 3 inches. And you just score right only to where your cut mark is on both top and bottom, left and right. Once you've done that, all that's left is an accordion fold. You'll fold one forward, you'll fold one back, leaving that center bit unfolded. And that creates this little flippy flap. Whoop, 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 whoop. And then all these pieces will perfectly fit just with like a nice white border. Your open white spots, and that is the card. Then you decorate as you like. Like I've put, you know, little ephemera bits onto it, but you can do whatever you want at that point. It's just decorative at that point. The only thing to keep in mind is the embellishments that you put onto this. Make sure they don't go too high because they'll stop the functionality. They'll get a little bit stuck in the motion possibly. So just be aware of that. Maybe before you very permanently glue it, just give it a little test flip to make sure that you're not catching on anything. Anybody have any questions? Okay, let's see if I know how to stop the recording now.